When the state auditors walked into the HOA clubhouse, the sprinklers went off, soaking boxes labeled Prosperity Tithe. Tricia Dowey, our self-proclaimed spiritual president, screamed about sacred documents while her shredder spit out steaming paper confetti. I stood there calm, watching chaos unfold, pretending I had no idea how it all started. But deep down, I knew. Because I was the one who set this whole thing in motion. My name's Caleb Mercer. I live in Juniper Heights, a picture-perfect suburban neighborhood with white fences, pristine lawns, and neighbors who wave like they're in a toothpaste commercial. It was peaceful, predictable until she arrived. Tricia Dowey, the new HOA president. Blonde bob pearl earrings and a voice that made every sentence sound like a sermon. She didn't just run the HOA, she ruled it, calling herself a spiritual leader of prosperity. I didn't know then that she'd turn our lives and our wallets inside out. The first red flag came in the form of a letter slipped into everyone's mailbox. Mandatory Prosperity Assessment. It said, printed in gold cursive like an invitation to a royal gala. At first I thought it was a joke. 10% of every homeowner's monthly salary to boost community abundance and align financial vibrations. There was even a section asking for pay stubs, tax documents, and a handwritten affirmation that we embrace collective wealth. I laughed out loud. This woman was out of her mind. But the laughter stopped when the HOA meeting came around. Tricia stood at the podium like she was delivering a TED Talk. "We are creating a higher frequency neighborhood," she said, gesturing with her manicured hands. "Your contribution isn't just money, it's energy. Abundance begets abundance." I raised my hand. "With all due respect, how exactly does giving you 10% of my salary raise the neighborhood's energy level?" She turned toward me with a smile so fake it could have been painted on. "Mr. Mercer, resistance to prosperity is a common symptom of scarcity thinking. Perhaps you'd benefit from a mindset workshop." The room chuckled nervously. A few neighbors nodded, others avoided my eyes. Tricia had them wrapped around her little finger. The next week, fines started appearing. Non-compliant earner, unaligned landscaping, negative koi pond vibrations. Yes, she actually sent me a violation notice because she claimed my koi pond was disturbing the energetic flow of the community. It didn't stop there. She hired a drone, yes, a drone, to fly over properties and verify lifestyle alignment with reported income. I once caught her standing on my driveway filming my backyard while pretending to check her phone. When I confronted her, she smiled sweetly and said, "Transparency is love, Caleb. Don't be afraid of being seen." That night I sat on my porch staring at the glowing HOA fines on my email. She had fined me nearly $1,200 in a single week for resisting energetic contribution. My stomach turned. I thought about selling the house, cutting my losses, and getting out before she drained me dry. But then I looked at my koi pond, the one thing I built with my own two hands, and I thought, no way in hell. I wasn't about to let a self-appointed cult leader bully me out of my own home. So I started digging. I spent hours researching HOA laws, reading state statutes, watching YouTube lawyers explain fiduciary duty and financial transparency. I learned that as a homeowner I had the right to request the HOA's financial records at any time. So I did. I sent a formal email requesting all ledgers, receipts, and bank statements. Tricia replied almost instantly, "The records are currently being blessed for abundance and are unavailable at this time." I sent another request, this time quoting the specific state code. She ignored it. I sent a certified letter. She replied with a notice of harassment. That's when I realized something bigger was going on. I found a public database for business filings and typed in Juniper Heights HOA. Nothing. But when I typed Prosperity Collective LLC, there it was, registered just 2 weeks after she became president. The business address, the same as the HOA's. The registered agent, Tricia Dowey. That was my turning point. I wasn't just dealing with an overbearing HOA president, I was dealing with a scam artist laundering money under a spiritual disguise. I gathered everything: screenshots, emails, violation letters, photos of her drone, even a video of her calling herself the divine accountant of Juniper Heights. Then I did something petty but smart. I wrote a check for $1, labeled it prosperity tithe under protest and mailed it to the HOA's P.O. box. She cashed it within 2 days. That single transaction legally linked her personal account to the HOA fund. With that evidence, I went all in. I filed reports with the State Attorney General, the Financial Crimes Division, the IRS Whistleblower Office, and even the Postal Inspector for mail fraud. And then I waited. Weeks passed. Tricia got bolder. She showed up at my house one morning with a camera crew, her husband with an iPhone, and announced that I was under energetic review. She read a fake citation aloud claiming my koi pond represented hidden wealth and threatened to place a lien on my home. That night I sat alone, lights off, wondering if I'd gone too far or not far enough. Part of me wanted to pack up and leave. I was exhausted, anxious, paranoid. Was I obsessed? Maybe. But then I remembered the way she humiliated my elderly neighbor, Mr. Daly, calling him energetically obsolete for questioning her. I remembered the single mom down the street crying after getting fined for having budget-conscious decor. No, I wasn't wrong. I was the only one willing to fight back. 2 months later, the HOA announced a mandatory meeting to celebrate the success of the Prosperity Program. Everyone was required to attend. I smiled, because I already knew who else was going to be there. When the day came, Tricia stood at the front of the clubhouse in a white suit, glowing like a televangelist. She started her presentation clicking through slides about financial vibrations and community harmony. I sat quietly near the back, pretending to take notes. Then the doors opened. 3 people in suits walked in, 2 auditors and 1 uniformed officer. Tricia froze mid-sentence. "Oh, this must be the media I invited." She laughed nervously. But when the lead auditor pulled out a badge and said State Department of Financial Oversight, her face drained of color. They asked for financial records. She tried to stall, saying everything was stored in the Abundance archives. One of the auditors opened a filing box. Inside were receipts for Crystal Energy Consulting, Prosperity Retreat Catering, and monthly transfers of $5,000 to Wellness Leadership LLC, her own company. The officer said calmly, "Ma'am, we'll need you to step aside." Tricia snapped, "This is harassment. You don't understand. These funds are divinely allocated." Then right on cue, the sprinkler system went off. Papers flew. Ink ran down the pages. Her fancy projector shorted out, sparking like fireworks. The audience gasped as her carefully curated empire literally disintegrated before our eyes. The auditors moved quickly, gathering what they could. One of them pulled out a soggy sheet from her shredder bin. It read, "Call it a tithe, not a fee. Church words equal fewer questions." Someone in the back laughed. Then everyone did. Tricia screamed, slipped on a puddle, and fell backward into a box of prosperity tithe envelopes. The officer handcuffed her right there, her designer bracelet clinking against the metal cuffs. I stayed seated, silent. She looked up at me as they let her out, mascara streaking down her face. "You did this," she hissed. I didn't deny it. I just smiled and said, "You said abundance begets abundance. Guess it works both ways." A few weeks later, Tricia was charged with fraud, mail tampering, and misappropriation of HOA funds. She took a plea deal, 5 years probation, restitution payments, and a lifetime ban from any homeowners association board. The irony. The court ordered 10% of her salary to be garnished and paid back to the residents. The neighborhood slowly went back to normal. The signs about vibrational alignment were taken down. The drone was gone. The koi pond finally stopped being a crime scene. One morning I found a note in my mailbox. No return name, just handwriting I recognized. It said, "Power built on greed always collapses under its own weight." And underneath it someone had scribbled, "You were right to fight." Maybe it was from a neighbor. Maybe from one of the auditors. I'll never know. But I kept it. Because the truth is, justice doesn't always roar, it sometimes whispers. It hides in quiet persistence, in one small act of defiance that grows into something unstoppable. And if there's one thing I learned from all this, it's that power without accountability always destroys itself in the end. You don't need revenge, just patience proof and the courage to hit send.